I'm going to talk about Skycademy. So early in the summer, you'll be aware that the foundation put on the Skycademies for teachers, and I saw one that was actually open to non-teachers. So as a scout leader, that was me straight in. I wanted to get there, do something, and basically it's a crash course. It was a crash course. It was full on learn, do stuff. For teachers and youth leaders, provided by the Raspberry Pi Foundation. So it's high altitude ballooning. Okay, so what that basically is, sending a big balloon, a weather balloon type thing, latex balloon, filled with generally helium or hydrogen, to the edge of space. Actually, not really in space, you're about 30 kilometres up, which is sort of, 2.5, 3 times as high as your normal airliner. So it's a good height up there. And important part of it's got a small radio on board to send out a tracking signal. So that's GPS and possibly a few other things off sensors in the actual payload itself. That becomes very important later. Often you'll add a camera to it, so the Pi camera is ideal for this. GoPros, things like that, are sort of nice. They have to be light, and you put those in so you get some nice pictures of the. We'll come to that. Occasionally, and we didn't on ours, you add some extra passengers. So you'll see here. This is a photo from. Dave Ackerman, who ran the course for us, sent up a potato for Heston Blumenthal, and so you often mount those on the outside of your box with your camera pointing at it, so you can get a picture of your whatever. Might be Babbage the bear, or let's see, Confused.com's Brian, flying through space. So, our instructors were Dave, who is the acknowledged genius of sending Raspberry Pis up on high altitude ballooning, and James, our Raspberry Pi Foundation expert. So, there are many steps before you can just launch a balloon up there. One of the first things that people sort of say, oh, can you just go out and do that? What happens to planes? So yes, you do have to do a lot of planning for where you're going to launch from. So there is a site just the other side of those trees in Churchill's field there, where the Cambridge University Spaceflight send balloons up from, and that's sort of a recognised site, so that's obviously convenient. But as well as where you're actually going to launch from and getting permissions for that, you've got to predict where it might land. So yesterday, I ran a prediction of if I launched one now, where it might end up. Clearly, it's not something you're going to actually fly, because you're not going to end up collecting from there. You'll see where some of ours ended up on the day. The little burst there, that's where the balloon actually explodes. So as it gets high enough, it'll just, because the pressure of the balloon will actually cause it to explode, and they come back down nice and gently. So you do have to inform the CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority, of your balloon flight. So when you're going to launch, where what you're going to do. And they might come back and say, no, you're not, because you're too close to an airport. Or they might say, there's some restrictions, you can't launch at this particular time because there's going to be air traffic. But eventually, by negotiation, hopefully you'll find something that suits. You do sort of have to tell them when you're planning to launch, and then hope that on the day you're actually able to. So we're in a little bit of an artificial situation, because the foundation decided in advance which day we were going to launch, which is sort of the wrong way round. We were taught, you do all your planning, towards a sort of date and then decide what the date's going to be, because there's so many dependencies on weather and everything else. So we did have to sort of make some compromises on the day, but it didn't really affect what we had to do. So you have to construct your payload. So you'll see there are members of our team building a nice polystyrene box of bits. Of course, decoration is an important part of it, particularly if you're working with children. And you'll see there the picture of our little passengers. So there was my little scout, a female scientist from Hillary, and Superman. And where is he? So, in addition, there's the electronics, which So in here, you'll see we've got the Raspberry Pi, so Model A there. And stacked on that is a pie in the sky board, and on top of that is an additional board, a lower board. Batteries, any passengers that you're going to take, and various antenna, and built into the pie in the sky board is GPS, so you need a GPS antenna as well. So, Raspberry Pi at the heart of all of our stuff, and this here is the pie in the sky board, so partly developed by Dave Ackerman, and this has everything on that you're going to need for your balloon flight. So antenna connectors for the GPS and for transmit. Various bits where you can, there's various sensors on here, but other sensors that you can feed into it. And the batteries here feed back power to the Pi. This is the lower board, so that's the long-range radio. Between the two of them, they'll send the data back in sort of two forms. There's one is radio teletype, and the lower board is the long-range radio. It's currently less used, but part of the sort of result of the actual Skycademy was that the number of people using lower boards to listen should have just gone up about 7-fold. And they reckon there was 4 or 5 before, and 24 of us walked away with a board to be able to set it up and leave it running permanently, so receive. Now, of course, you didn't quite get that. You have your own radio and computer or tablet to receive the signals and see what's coming back down. But that's just really part of it, because there's a whole community of high altitude ballooners around the country who are basically just listening for the signals coming from other people's balloons. And the software automatically uploads that to a central website, and indeed our software did as well. So even if we totally lose contact with it while it's up there in the sky because we can't quite keep up with it in the car or something, or the actual radio fails, there's plenty of other people who are listening, who are receiving the signal, receiving the GPS coordinates and uploading it onto the map. So you can always see where your balloon has got to, and I've got some examples of that a bit later. So, having made your payload, you've got to weigh it, and there's lots of calculations go into this, weights of that, the parachute that's on the balloon itself. All that preparation done, it's time to launch, and actually this is sort of quite a small part of it, when you, in the grand scheme of things. So, helium, cylinder of helium here, and you blow up your balloon gradually, protecting it, of course, from the sharp grass because they're not very thick. And it gets bigger and starts to float until you get to the point here where your balloon is fully inflated, you've sealed it off again, tied it off. You'll see there's the parachute hanging below it there, and then at the end of this, there is the payload. So normally you would have larger distances between them here, but because when we came to launch, it was a bit windier than it should have been to do a launch. We sort of had to get in the lee of some trees and get the actual sort of lengths down so that it would be going up before the wind hit it and took it to the side, which made it a little, the stuff swung a bit more than it would normally do, but we still got some good pictures back. So, having got to that point, everything's ready to go, and final sort of pay it out into the sky here, and let go, and off it flies. So we launched from Ellsworth, so just to the west of here, and so over in that direction, sort of St Ives and whatnot. And you can then track it on this website. So obviously this first bit here is where us travelling out to the site. So from Pye Towers out to the site where we launched. Each of these coloured strings is one of the 4 teams. So we were Stratus, so we were the S's here. And this is the route that the balloons took. So they went out over St Ives. And we were tracking it in our cars and watching this map as we went, and our predicted landing site went from sort of about here and gradually pulled back in, luckily. So we managed to sit somewhere around Acle waiting to see where is it going to land, because at one point it was sort of predicting to be down here in the forest, and then in the Broads, and while we waited for it, it basically just came straight back down here towards us. And it ended up landing not far from where we were actually parked.
Very close to where we were parked.
Very close to where we were parked, yes. And really very close to the A47. Just in a field, nice and convenient. So we sort of stopped, got out, and looked over the field, and there it was. Now you'll see that one of the teams wasn't quite so fortunate. Part of the whole calculation process is working out how high you're going to send it so that it bursts and it comes back down on land. That has many things in it, including the weight of your payload and how much gas you put in, so you can predict how fast it's going to go up. If you don't quite get your calculations right, it goes up a bit slower, and when it goes up slower, it bursts later than it should do and lands further along. So unfortunately, theirs is lost. But still, all the time it's up there, it's transmitting the pictures back, and all of these many receivers are collecting this together, sending it up to the website, so you still generally get your pictures, even if you do manage to lose your payload. So you'll see here, obviously when it's flying, it'll tell you how fast it's going up, what height it's at, and then the various other bits. And you can see there that, well, these were both in the same payload, so it managed, there's obviously a slight sort of error bar on the height measurement, but it's certainly over 33,000 metres up, which is pretty good. And you can see my little man there, very happy to have come back down from 33,000 metres and landed on the ground. So, an important part of it, of course, is the pictures you get back. So this is shortly after launch, so if any of you are familiar with this sort of area, there, the Fen Drayton Lakes there. And so this is before it had obviously got well above cloud cover. And as you go up, you get nice pictures of space. You can see curvature of the Earth, well, not quite so much now, but the thin blue line of the atmosphere, and you get some pretty staggering pictures come back. Ooh, not quite part of that far yet. And obviously, the reason that we did Skycademy was so that we can use this with children, because space really engages kids in science. So whether you're a teacher in school, and there's lots of cross-curricular activities that go around this sort of thing, you know, around the physics and the geography and everything else, or whether you're a scout leader like me who just wants to get kids doing things that they enjoy, and they're just looking for something to really sort of hook into. So as a team, there's 6 of us in the team. As a team, we'll each be doing a launch over the next 12 months, either with scouts or with schools, and we'll be working together to support each other in doing those launches. And thanks to the Raspberry Pi Foundation, those launches are all paid for as part of the scheme. So we've got no reason not to do a launch. There's no financial reason or anything else. We've got the help, we've got the money, so we're going to do it. So there is going to be a CamJam high altitude balloon launch at some point next year. Because I sort of mentioned it in the talk, and it was hooked on straight away. Well, in fact, James mentioned it to me, and I said, "Oh, yeah, that'd be a good idea in the talk." And immediately the tweets started. I hadn't even finished talking, and came out and already said, "Oh, yes, that's a good idea. We'll do that then." So, sometime in the next year.
Yes, from back to the room. Yes.
Yes, there was a yes. So, sometime next year there will be a CamJam1. Whether we tie that in with one of the actual CamJam sort of Saturdays, I don't know, because that's going to be a bit hard to sort of say, it'll be a CamJam Saturday, we're going to launch that day, because we know how unpredictable that is. Yeah. But assuming that we can be somewhere around here and we can use Churchill's Field, it'll be sort of convenient to tie it all in together. But that's in the planning stages. That's it.
That's it. Any questions?
A quick question.
Yeah.
I just wondered, the temperature at 30,000 metres is pretty cold, isn't it?
Actually, I haven't got the temperature graph up here, and I don't think it's said in there, but there is.
That was the temperature inside the box. I think
Yeah,
it
it's.
was measuring.
So
that 6.2 is the temperature. You haven't got any really minus type temperatures there.
Oh no, it goes through
Yeah.
layers.
yeah, so the temperatures here are when it was landed, actually.
Alright.
But there is, from this website, you can see a graph of the temperature as it went through its altitudes, and there is a decrease in temperature. Then there's a temperature inversion when it starts to go up again, because there's not much to stop the sun's heat getting directly to you. And so there is, it's another interesting science
And that's what
thing to do.
Do you have any difficulties because of the temperature? Was what I was asking. Really.
Not with it, no, because they're very well insulated in the polystyrene box, and the Pi is generating its own heat just because it's running.
Right.
So there isn't a
Batteries,
difficulty.
I was going to say, batteries. So something that we used
Yes.
for the launches were lithium batteries, because normal batteries just fail at that kind of altitude.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Due to the temperature.
Yes.
How often did you take a picture?
You can program it. It takes small pictures every couple of minutes, isn't it?
I think it,
50 seconds?
yeah, 30 seconds ish. It's
Yeah.
trying to be configurable, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds, depending.
And it takes a full high resolution, the maximum resolution of the Raspberry Pi camera, I believe, every 5 minutes. And so they all obviously stored on the SD card. So as long as you get your card back, all the ones I've shown here have been the full quality ones.
How long was the flight?
The question was how long was the flight?
Sorry?
The question there again was how long was the flight?
How long was the flight? Well, actually depends on the conditions on the day. We launched at 11 and retrieved about 1,
Yeah.
just at 1:30. Yeah.
2 to 3 hours is a sort of average length of flight. Depends on the altitude you're receiving. Some people launch what are called floaters, so they underfill the balloon and so it gets up to altitude and then oscillates for a long time, travels over many countries and then lands somewhere.
Yeah.
If you want to have a look, I've got the data on our balloon here on my laptop, so if you want to have a look, I'll
And I think
Yes.
the data is one of the really cool things because that's where you can ask those kind of questions about what the temperatures are like there. And you can see that next week. I mean, the SenseApp was launched a few weeks ago. Next week we're going to launch a payload with the SenseApp on, so we're going to be tracking all of that data all the way through the flight.
Okay. Oh, yep.
Sorry, how predictable are they actually?
The website that we use here, HabHub, is incredibly good at doing the predictions. It's actually produced by somebody from the university spaceflight, and it downloads all the meteorological data from NOAA in America for this area, or for the area you're using, and it does a lot of background maths, and it basically, it will tell you, it was predicting that we were going to land, on land in this side, and we did, most of us. And so it's good enough to decide whether you should be launching or not, definitely.
So was the one that went over, was that a miscalculation or was it,
That was a miscalculation in the amount of helium they put in. They didn't put enough in to make it go up quickly enough to burst early enough.
They forgot to include the weight of the hose that takes the helium from the cylinder into the balloon. They forgot about that. It's about 50 grams that they didn't add on, and that's the difference it made.
You should give a
But
prediction as
also,
well. Sorry.
even the experts lose about 1 in 5. So there's pretty much part of the course that one of our payloads would end up in the soup. It happens. There's a lot of random things that can change.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Ellie.